Welcome to the November the 1st Thursday informational meeting. Glad to see you folks here. We're going to start off with the invocation by Commissioner McClure, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all of the blessings that you give to us because we realize that all that we have comes from you. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to meet and do business to discuss issues that come before the county. As we do so, we would ask your wisdom and your discernment in any decisions and any discussion that we may have. Let everything that is said and done here this morning bring honor and glory to your name, and in that name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if there's anyone here, please register if you want to speak at the public address. I'd like to have a motion to excuse Commissioner
So moved,
Barrett.
Mr. Chairman.
You got a second?
We do this verbally, sir?
Okay, got a second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor? Okay. Adoption of the agenda. We have a request to add resolution authorizing condemnation to acquire right-of-way easements for the I-85 US Highway 64 sewer project as agenda item 8C. Are there any other changes for the agenda? Can I have a motion second to adopt the amended agenda?
Move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion Commissioner Yates.
Second.
Second Commissioner McClure. Please cast your vote.
Mr. Yates, could I have your vote, please?
You want my vote?
Yes, please, I got your motion. Thank you. All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 6-0.
Okay.
And there isn't anyone registered for public address, sir.
Okay. Items for decision, information, presentation by the ABC Board. Zeb?
Yes, sir.
You want to lead this off, please?
As you fellows know, we have our ABC board here today, Kenny Meredith, Lori Clement, and Sherry Piatti. They've been working very hard looking to see, about siting a store and the viability of that been mainly looking in the northern end of the county. I think they have some information they'd like to share with you about where they are, what they've got going on, and I'm going to just turn it over to them and let them do most of the talking. So, Mr. Meredith, are you up first?
Would you like the pro forma up?
Do I do what?
Do you want the pro forma up yet?
We'll wait for
That works.
Lori to
Okay.
maybe do that if you
Okay.
want to. Good morning, gentlemen.
With the video, please identify yourself.
Kenny
for the video.
Meredith, you need an address?
No,
Okay.
no.
Kenny Meredith.
Thank
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for taking the time to let us bring you folks up to date while we are a subdivision, political subdivision of the state. You guys appoint us, and I know you get questions, and we feel like that you folks need to be brought up to date and know where we're at, know where we've been, know where we're at now, and where we see ourselves going. I'd like to thank you folks for sharing your county manager and your master clerk with us for assistance. They've been invaluable. But we started off the process going through your feasibility study that you did about a year ago or a little bit less. Went through that. I think it was obvious the area that was most dense and most likely to have a successful ABC store. So we went through that. We started collecting information. We went on a road trip visiting some ABC stores. We ended up with, especially the ladies have gotten a real good relationship with a manager in Coolamy that has helped with a lot of information. Moxville is in the process of opening up a store. They voted, I think, the same time we did in 2016 for ABC sales in the city of Moxville. And I guess, Cooley and Moxville have joined forces. The manager that's in Cooley, has been there, I guess, 10, 12 years? So, and I'm sorry, you introduced the other board members, so. But, pretty much where we're at, we've located a site. We are in the process, we have tentatively negotiated some lease terms subject to approval of leasing and, of lease language as well as funding. We don't have money. This is we can't go out and solicit capital investors or anything like that. Can't sell stock. We're on our own, so we're gonna fund this totally with debt. And the debt service between interest and, we're looking at a fixed rate loan for part of the debt, and a fixed term loan, the balance of it in a credit line. We've talked to the banks. We haven't got approval back from the banks, but they were positive when we met with them that they could do something. So we're still at that point. The state sets the prices. They set the profit you can work with, and the numbers are awfully thin. Our projection that Ms. Clements will share with you shows some pretty tight numbers. We think that our sales projections are reasonable. In talking with the Cooley folks and look at the demographics where they're at and what their sales are, look at our demographics, we feel like we're fairly confident with the sales numbers. And please, if you got a question, don't be afraid to interrupt. We'll answer it best we can. But we're at that process now of, the state requires you to advertise on site where the potential store is at. And we're in that process now, but we have not committed to a lease. We've just signed an agreement that we can advertise that particular location. So that is, we've done quite a bit of work. When we've had our meetings, each one of us have done work outside the meeting, and it's a pretty laborious task. I don't know that we're surprised that it is, but I don't think either of us knew exactly what to expect and how detailed it was. So, from that standpoint, I'll answer any questions now or later, but I'll let Ms. Clements do the pro forma that we've come up with, and I hope all of you have a copy of it, or were given a copy of it.
We do.
Okay.
I got a question. How many employees, would this store have?
We're projecting, 2 full-time.
2 full-time and 3 to 4 part-time.
Yes. Be a manager and then a semblance of an assistant manager.
I have a question. Whenever you were talking with the Cooley store, what was their numbers on an annual basis? What were they doing?
Their sales were just under $1 million.
She was right under $1 million and projected more this year. Sorry. And she's a tiny little store. If anybody's been through Cooley, you know it's out in the middle of nothing. But she does over $1 million a year.
How much over $1 million a year?
We can look it up on the state's website. It is.
Okay, I was just curious because the lady that came in here said that if you didn't make at least $1 million a year, your store would fail.
Yeah, sales being $1 million a year, I think the feasibility.
Yeah, sales. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'd like to.
I said make, but I mean sales.
Yes.
State your name.
Lori Clement.
Thank you, Lori.
The population in, Cooley's gotta be very small, huh?
It is.
Minute compared to Davidson
Compared
County
to-
as a whole.
That's the reason I
Compared to-
want the number.
Compared to North Davidson County, yeah,
I would probably say 2.5 times that in the northern part of the county.
What's the closest ABC store to the Cooley
About
store?
3 miles.
That would be the one in Winston-Salem, right up, is it Silas Creek? Peters Creek,
150.
in 150.
North of, Clemensville Road.
No, he said Cooley.
Oh, the Cooley,
Isn't Cooley the one that you're referring to?
Well, Moxville would be the closest one now to them.
Once they
Yeah.
open, they're not open yet, are they?
No, and then Troutman would be the other, in the opposite direction.
And that was my other question, was what is Moxville's projections?
She is, off the cuff, when she was talking to me, I think she was hoping Moxville would do about 1.25 to 1.5.
What kind of percentage, profit are they, net income are they coming? What are their projections?
They're basically the same, pretty in line with us, and that's where I had met with Chris. We came up with numbers, we fine-tuned it, I think I've met with her 3 times to fine-tune our numbers so that they are realistic, because with 10 years' experience in a small rural ABC store, we felt like she was the most, valuable person we could talk to versus one in a bigger city that had more population. If anybody's ever worked with a franchise, the ABC board is almost like a franchise at the state level, where they control our cost, they control our taxes, and they control our margin. If you look at the pro forma that we gave you guys, as you see, 23% of our income is taxes, whether it goes back to the state, the county, at some certain level. 53% is our cost of goods sold, and that is set by the state. They, they control what we pay for everything. So when all that dust settles, we've got a 24% margin to even operate on. So those numbers can be kind of tight. So more sales will give us a bigger, a spread there, and that's what we're projecting for.
Hang on a second, Lori, I got a question. Maybe y'all can answer, and maybe it's Zeb. Where does this tax money go? I mean, this is, do they charge a 7% sales tax, or there's no sales tax on the alcohol?
There is, in that 23%, 7% is the sales tax that goes back to the county, and the other is state taxes that go back to,
The ABC board.
the ABC.
Where does that money go? Is that,
Well, regular sales tax, I would assume is being the general distribution that comes back to us. And of course, you know, out of the 7, we get 2 1/4.
That's what I was gonna say, we don't get 7%.
No, right.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking where's the other part of the 23, I mean, you got another 14% tax, I guess, if you add it all together, and it's 23%. Where does the 14 or 15% go? Does that go?
I'm not sure how that distribution works. I assume some of that money comes back here too. But we'd have to talk to
Dig
them.
into that and see,
Yeah, we
because,
asked
I
that
mean,
question, but they were kind of vague on that answer. We couldn't kind of figure out what they were talking about.
the reason I'm saying, I mean, that's $287,000 in the first year in taxes that
Right.
the state gets, you know?
Right.
Okay.
And again, it's a franchise issue, so we don't have any control over that. They
Oh, I know,
control
yeah.
that for us. If you look down our numbers, we plugged them in as to what we thought. I met with Chris, we refined them, we came back, we regrouped on our salaries and wages and things like that. We have done a lot of homework on insurance, trying to figure out, to pinpoint everything we have. If you see at the bottom, there is a debt and interest payment, that $35,000 that goes across. We are projecting to have a $200,000 fixed loan for 7 years on the equipment. If you could go to the next page of that, I'm gonna jump around just a second. The next sheet there, sheet 2. I'm sorry,
I can't
it's
see that.
okay.
I can't see that
That
far.
is, the allocation of the way we have our monies requested for that fixed loan. We are projecting it costing us $405,000 to get this thing up and rolling. We have met with the contractor who has done numerous stores across the state. He is currently doing the one in Moxville. He has just done the one in downtown Concord. He has given us some numbers. We have tweaked those numbers and cut them as far as we think we can. Those figures being, and we broke them down from the design to the floor, the track lighting, the fixtures, engineering, because we do know that we will have to have stamp seal drawings for everything. Our cash register system and our security system may look high to you guys, but we think security is very important, and we want to make sure that everybody's safe up there. Inventory's $175,000, that can fluctuate. That is based on the store size that we have allocated. Supplies, startup capital, that would be, you know, training, getting everything done, the working capital from the time we start until the time we, actually open. We will have to train our people, get them in there, get them working and doing some things. Our building upfit, we do have a small contingency. Of those $405,000, we're pulling out the $175 and the $30,000 startup because we want to use that, our line of credit for that, knowing that we can fluctuate that line of credit and pick and pull from that. So the fixed loan is gonna be the $200. So that's how we came up with the $200,000 fixed loan. Operating income after that, you see, is very slim. Then we take some interest expense that we've roughly calculated on that line of credit that we're gonna be rolling as well. So, when all the dust settles, the profits are very slim. The more we sell, as you can see, the better our profits are gonna be. So ideally, we would love to say, oh, we're gonna come in at 1.5, but we know that's unrealistic. 1.25, that is a 12-month projection, not a part year. That is a full year.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
These figures you have you run these by the state ABC lady that was here, or someone that come by with? Have y'all run these numbers by?
The startup numbers here?
Yeah.
We have not run them by the state ABC board, but we have had the person who does all the ABC renovations and construction. He has looked at these and given us these as true numbers. And also, I've gone through them 3 times with Chris over in Moxville. I know you're gonna say, I just don't wanna hear her name again. But I've gone through with her, and she's actually in the middle. She's probably 2/3 of the way through her renovation to the Moxville store, because they are actually renovating one of the retail stores out on 601 right there as you're heading toward 40. So she has given me true numbers on that one as well, and I think from what she has experienced in the past 6 months with her renovation.
And she's happy with these numbers?
She's very happy with those numbers, yes.
That was it. I realized they told us, or told me earlier, that they're not gonna let one fail if they can help it. I don't know if they've ever had one to fail or not many.
I think the ABC told us they had one fail and maybe one they relocated because of location. Yeah, so they're very adamant, almost, again, like a franchise. They're not gonna let us go somewhere they think we might.
So these figures are pretty well in line with what,
Yes.
that's what I wanted to know.
What were your original contractor's numbers before you cut it?
We probably cut 20% off of it. He's a salesman, and like every salesman, he's gonna come in with his top of the line, and we were warned that through Chris, and so we have kind of cut down where he came in with, and I'm just using round numbers, he may have come in with $50,000 worth of shelving and this and that, and we said, you know, I think we can cut it down and go to 40. So I'm feeling like we probably cut 20, because we wanted a B-plus store, we don't want an A-plus store. And we sure as heck don't want a C, because we know marketing and, that sells as well. So we didn't want it to look like we were still in the 80s. We wanted to give it that nice, new, fresh look, but we also don't want marble countertops and, super nice cabinetry and stuff like that. So we know we have a limit, and we know that we're working on a very tight budget, so therefore, we reeled him in real quick.
I know that there hasn't been but one fail. What happens if it does fail?
State has the option, as I understand it, to come in and take it over.
But I mean, if it's not making any money, they're not gonna continue to operate it.
Unless they would see us operating it at a, detrimental to the
Yeah, you and I talked about it, but on your loan, you don't have anything to secure the loan. It's just an open-end loan, and the bank's okay with.
We haven't got a commitment letter, but they have been positive at every step.
You know, they went through this with one of the booster clubs up there, and where there was an unsecured loan, and they defaulted on the loan, and now they've got a bunch of mess up there.
Well, that's why they wanted to do the $200,000 loan and secure it with our fixtures and equipment. And then the line of credit, I guess, would also be secured by our inventory.
Well,
What kind of interest rate are you looking at with the loans? What are they what's the interest rates with the loans that they're projecting?
Once again, they have not given us a term sheet or anything, but in our discussion with them, we were talking about prime, for the floating rate, prime. And then the
Plus.
fixed rate would be, well, we asked for prime. Now.
You never got,
If you get it, just let me know how you
And our
did it.
projections are at
I
5.75.
I usually never have seen prime go through to any loan. A prime plus a quarter, prime plus a half is the best you could get.
Right, that was part of the negotiations, and we hadn't got to the final.
And an unsecured loan, you're probably I doubt you're gonna get that.
And we built some of those numbers into our projection for the debt service.
One other question on the insurance, are you providing health insurance for the employees,
For our full-time employees,
for the
yes.
full-time?
Mhm.
You looked at those numbers?
We have looked at those numbers, and those numbers are really high. That's why you
Yes,
see
they are.
that 13, and that was from Chris at Montville as to what she's paying for her 2 full-time people.
Yeah, it's, with
And-
this ACA stuff, it's not inexpensive.
And so that's one of our numbers we feel like we could trim, but we still think it's, you know, that's one of our larger costs as far as,
And we haven't defined whether there'll be any employee participation in that insurance cost yet.
You have one?
We have not defined if there's going to be any employee participation in the health care cost. That is certainly one option.
Yeah, most of your smaller companies are going to 50%.
Yes,
Yes.
and haven't ruled that out, not 50% or not 25, we just haven't ruled out the concept. Our wage, competition is not necessarily election, it's Christmas sales, of course, the more being, so
Yeah.
we're probably gonna, see higher wage cost, than, what you would see in the election.
Did any of you get in touch with Henderson?
Henderson, ABC.
They declined ABC store, and I was just curious as to why they decided not to do it.
No, we have not been in contact with them.
I would like to see that, if you could contact them and find out what their numbers were and
Sure.
why they decided not to do it.
I think you folks have met with Lori Lee, or she had made a presentation, or you know that name from the.
Yes.
She's director of pricing and ABC Board Audits, I think. And if she can't give us that information, which I expect is public knowledge, then we should be able to get that.
But the issue that I have with your numbers is not that you didn't do a good job on your numbers, and I'd like to thank you for doing what you've done. You've done a yeoman's job in getting all this put together. As I talked to Kenny, I don't know that you're pulling from the same kind of clientele that these other stores are gonna be pulling from. I don't think in Moxville, you don't have somebody that's sitting right on your doorstep. That's, see, most of the people that live up there, or a good percentage of the people, we keep hearing the 34,000 people go out of the county to go to work in that area. And, the question is why would they come all the way back, to that shopping center to buy when they can pass probably 2 or 3 on the way back in?
That's an unknown question, but same reason they go to Food Line when they come back down the road, coming home. There's, of that 34,000, a third of it probably goes up 150, a third of it goes up 52, and another third goes up 109.
Food Line is probably the only real stable tenant in that shopping center. They've had some real turnover in some of the other ones.
They had the drugstore in there.
Yeah.
When they first opened, but they've gone to freestanding stores, and now, where they moved to is convenience store.
Good morning, I'm Sherry Piatti. We are confident that it's going to be a successful store. We're going to hire the right people. We know that because we're treating it like a franchise business, it's about sales and the customer service aspect, which a lot of ABC stores do not have. And we also know the ABC store on Peters Creek Parkway is very concerned about us opening, because they feel like, if you've ever been up there, that one is kind of hard to get in and out of. Straight shot down 150, go into the Food Line Shopping Center, be easy in and out.
Yeah, that's kinda what I was gonna mention. I know that it is a different clientele, 'cause we're in Davidson County, but that Food Line Shopping Center, since we have passed alcohol sales in Davidson County, the Food Line itself has had to hire multiple people because you can't get in the parking lot now. It is absolutely, I mean, it's like they have put a whole new store out there. People are now wanting to come back here and shop as opposed to the other Food Line, which is harder to get in and out of, which is on up the road, across the street from the other ABC store. That ABC store has a cramped parking lot, and it is very difficult to get in and out of. That part, I don't think you can really relate, the two, 'cause I think people will come back here and shop. They are already doing that, with Food Line. Used to, you go in there and there'd be one cashier, now you go in and every single one of the registers is open. You could park up front, now you gotta walk a little bit 'cause it's hard to get in. That part, I think you're gonna be just fine.
I do expect that we'll pick up some restaurant alcohol sales too.
Well, yes, because Max Burger is currently using, that other ABC store. Well, that would be, wrong of them to do, if they got one in their parking lot.
Actually, Mr. Price, any restaurant outside of municipality that has ABC sales, they've got to buy it from the county store if you have a store in the county.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay.
Can't go to the
Can't
city.
go across the county line, and we can't go into Lexington, Mr. Yates, when you come up there and buy it from us, you've got to.
I have to buy it from Lexington, yep.
If the municipality has ABC sales, but if a store or a restaurant in Denton opened up, they would have to find a way to get alcohol from
us.
this store back down there.
I did not know that.
That bypass
Okay, 'cause
two ABC stores potentially to get there.
I did not know that, 'cause I know, I had questioned where Max Burger was getting theirs. And they said from Winston, which, and then I was told, well, they could do that, which I wasn't told that part of it.
The reason they can do that is because we have no
Okay.
outlet in the county.
Well, thank you for telling me that, 'cause that one's a new one.
We do have the ability to, if someone opened one in the far realms of Denton and didn't want to have to drive all the way, we can release them and let them do it, or we could deliver. So we do have both those options, but they can't just arbitrarily on their own decide to go to whatever their neighboring county is that allows it.
How much, weight does the ABC board put on other stores' opinions of whether or not they want y'all there or not?
That's, as I understand it, didn't mean to interrupt you, that's, done through the state.
I understand, but I was just wondering if you knew how much weight, because Thomasville's already appeared and said they didn't want it. They didn't want us to do it. No, but they would probably be getting a lot of the sales from out of the county now because there's not a county store.
That's true.
And so would Lexington. And I don't know whether or not, I mean, I think you told me we're not gonna have any new drinkers, we're just gonna try to get somebody that's already drinking to come to our store, and I understand that. But I was just wondering how much emphasis they put on that. If the other stores say, they're gonna take us away and we're not gonna be able to make it if you do that, or it's gonna be too close, or, I just wondered.
Prior to this ABC board, which covers Forsyth County and some of the Yadkinville and some of the other municipalities. And they have indicated some fear that we're gonna take away sales from that Highway 150 store, which, as of a couple of years ago, that was our highest volume store in our whole system of 13 different stores. So that's gonna be, I think they have concern. I haven't heard anything about Lexington or Thomasville being concerned about.
Thomasville was, they came up and said that they were not for it, in a meeting.
But I told them we was gonna build one at their city limits, that was why.
We have not heard that yet, and I think you talked to the Lexington people, but we haven't, Sherry did, I'm sorry. But we have not had a conversation with the Thomasville board
Cause it's gonna take, there's a lot of restaurants around in the county that they're gonna lose that business.
That's right. But we found, I don't know, we looked at the numbers, there's just a handful of restaurants outside of the municipality.
Yeah, there's not that many.
I don't
They
think
sell
there's
alcohol.
but 6. I think, was there 6?
There wasn't many, was
No, there was not very many.
Because it hadn't been legal to do that except for 2 years, so they're just now getting started.
And, you know, there's some growth there,
Right.
but we're not banking on a lot of restaurant sales.
No, there's not enough revenue there to. What kind of sales tax has ABC brought in so far, Casey?
About 450,000. Now, that doesn't count the piece, like the manager said, that gets wrapped up, that I don't know. But the ABC tax itself.
So we've got $450,000 already from money that was going out of the county
Right.
before.
Right.
Okay.
And does that number keep going up, Casey? Or is it peak?
Half a year, so it's hard to know. I don't know, first year we did it, cause it enacted, it
Right.
came in a half a year. So the 450 was the first full year, we'll see this year.
Okay. Yeah.
To your point, what kind of detriment would a store do to Food Line? Are they gonna have to start laying off more employees?
No, what, the ABC store?
Yeah.
You
don't think the ABC store will take business from Food Line?
Well, no, I think it would probably be, put in together, because when you go to Food Line and do your shopping, you buy your mixers at Food Line, and you can go to the ABC store, and some of these meetings that we have can be contentious, so, you know, it might be something that we need to maybe have, some samples next time, to partake in.
It's just a question, it's not contentious.
I know. Yeah,
Steve, to your point, they're selling beer and wine.
Right.
And we're doing this distilled spirits, so I don't think we're gonna take it away from them, or they're gonna take it away from us.
Yeah, no, and that's why, you know, the Lexington store down on Highway 8, their ABC store was in the Food Line Shopping Center for years, until they bought, where they're at now. But no, I don't think it's gonna be a problem, because most of the time you go in there and buy your, stuff, and then go over to the Food Line. So I think together it'll be a good thing, because you'll be in the same parking lot.
It'll actually be a drawing card for Food Line, I'd say. Even better for them, for the whole center.
And I think the shopping center owner understands that, and has been pretty aggressive in the discussions and negotiations.
Yeah,
When these population figures, I guess I assume they come from the Department of Commerce.
I'm assuming the feasibility study, the demographics that were listed in that, I haven't compared it to, are you looking at what, the realtor gave us for the demographics?
Radius, population.
Those are from the Department of Commerce.
And it looks like, within a 1 mile radius, we're looking at, about 60 people, increase from 2018 to 2013 in a 1 mile radius.
I'm not sure, has that got a date on it?
Well, it's got the 2018 projection, and then you got the 2023 projection. And my point is this, within close to a mile radius, we're entertaining 450 homes going up, and within now. And around the corner is gonna be about that many homes that's gonna be going up at a later date. So I just wonder if that's factored in, or how you do that.
Southern Forsyth
Project
County,
it.
we're gonna draw from there, all those apartments and family homes that are in there, they're Wilshire Golf Course. That's well within a mile.
Well, these projects are over south of the store in Davidson County.
So that's, percentage of those homeowners are going to be buyers.
Then
And
maybe,
I think there's some sandbagging, and those projections are pretty conservative.
Well, in that 1 mile radius, you can't have a whole lot of growth as far as residential, because it's a commercial area. So, but if you look at the 3 mile radius, it's tenfold of the, 1 mile radius. So you had 23,000 people there in the 3 mile radius,
I think
so.
in your feasibility study, that it was projected that, you would draw from a 10 or 15 mile radius. So when you go out that far, that's a lot of numbers.
So what are your next steps? What do you do now?
Well, we being a new entity, you know, we're gonna have to operate totally on debt. It's our understanding, you guys cannot contribute money to this, but we understand that you do have the potential to lease property and sublease it to the ABC Board. And we would like you guys to consider that. I think from a credibility standpoint, you guys have got a lot more credibility than the new ABC Board. If y'all would give any consideration for that, and then we could negotiate, you know, a rental amount.
Kenny, I know it's early in your projections, but how long a lease do you think they
We're
want?
looking at 5 years.
5 years?
And obviously, and I didn't get into it, but you guys got the location in the Food Line Shopping Center there at Hickory Road, reference. You know, we looked at some other available property up there. The old Rite Aid building that's empty now, that's roughly 12,000 square feet. They won't subdivide it, they won't sell it, they will sublease it because Walgreens now holds the lease. There's like 14 years left on it, and they will not, I think like the Food Lines used to do, they open a store and then close it and open one across the road, to protect another grocery store from coming in. And I think that's the resistance and interest in selling it. Plus, it's way too big and the cost. But the capital cost to build a freestanding store, we just felt like an inline shopping center to start with, would be more advantageous to us.
So what is your next step?
Our next step is, the location we gotta advertise for 30 days. Take calls and Ms. Harris is gonna collect the calls from anybody that, comes in, record them. At the same time, we've gotta send a letter to the state, ABC Board identifying our location. And then, in the meantime, in that 30-day period, we will, further negotiate the lease language, to something that would be acceptable. And we can, I think, assign that, our interest in that potential lease to the Board of Commissioners, and we'll negotiate a sublease from you if you guys would be interested in doing that. That's not necessarily tax dollars being directly into the ABC.
So when you send this stuff to the state, you send all these numbers at the same time?
I don't know if that has to go simultaneous, but they do have to approve the budget. And then each year subsequent to that, the board's gotta submit a budget to the state board by a certain date to,
When do you submit these numbers, the same time that you get to tell them about your location?
I don't know the timing of it, Mr. McClure, at this point, but I do know they've got to approve the budget.
Well, I believe they got final approval of the site also.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's the process we're in, is get the
Yeah.
final approval for the site. And that's a 30-day period.
Wouldn't they be more interested in approving the budget prior to finding the site? I mean, prior to approving the site?
Well,
I mean, in a business relationship, I don't think it'd be very
and that's why
prudent to go after a site.
Yeah, and it would be prudent for us to, you know, sign on the dotted line for the commitment for the lease. And because of that, because there's too many unknowns, we can't sign the lease until we get the word from the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, but you can't submit a budget without, and with the state, you gotta say, well, here's what we're looking at. And then once you get all that, and then the bank says, hey, here's your money, then you can sign on a dotted line and sign your lease.
They work hand in hand to me. If you don't have a site, you don't know your projected sales, and
Yeah, it's chicken.
You gotta have all of it together, though. It looks like the numbers would have to go with the site
That
and
is correct.
to be improved.
Yeah.
But, you know, if, we haven't been told that's gotta be submitted with the location of it. But
I mean, that-
during this process, before we commit to anything, or we ask you guys to commit to anything.
Well, yeah, we understand that.
That's the reason I asked the question, is because I couldn't see, what the steps were that,
So to follow up on Commissioner McClure's question, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you submit these numbers to the state board for approval. And at the same time, the leases will be drafted, which you submit to the county attorney for his review. And at that point, once the numbers with the state are approved, then we are presented the lease agreement by the county attorney, to make a decision on. Is that correct?
That's correct. You give us guidance, and I apologize, Mr. Fry, I let you out of here. Thank you for the help, Mr. Fry has been involved in giving us advice.
But would that not only be if we were interested in doing a sublease? I mean, I don't know
Well,
that
at
this
that time, I
board
think
has
we'll make
ever,
a decision either to deny or approve.
I don't think this board's ever discussed that at this point,
We haven't.
as to whether we will or won't. Okay, because I was just following up, he said it would be submitted directly to Mr. Fry and then come to us, and we haven't even went to that point
We
yet.
deny or approve at that point.
Let me ask one question here. So if this board approved the ABC store, and we wasn't gonna, give you any incentives as far as rent or whatever, y'all could move right along and wouldn't need,
I don't think you need our
Absolutely, it would
approval.
just be a lot, slimmer numbers and would take us longer to pay back. the
right,
line
but
of
I'm saying
credit.
that if we approve an ABC store, y'all don't need us, period, unless we give you an incentive for the rent. Y'all can move forward independently
Correct.
of any,
Your responsibility is to point the board,
right.
That's it.
and everything else, the oversight is done by the state.
Okay, so once we appointed the board, if y'all want to, so we don't even have to approve the ABC store. If y'all say it's good and the ABC board says it's good, we don't have any control
Still a
over it.
meeting.
Right, all they ask nothing.
Well, no direct control, but certainly.
Just control of the board members at certain points.
People
yeah.
already voted on the,
Yeah.
on the store, so I mean, we don't have to approve the store, really.
That's right, I think that's what the referendum.
All they need.
See, I thought we did have to approve the store. I really did, because, so y'all can do what y'all want to at this point in time.
I wanna go back to one statement you made. You said the numbers would be a lot slimmer. These numbers are not based on us not being included in the lease?
That number, if you flip back, Debbie, I'm sorry, no worries, to the first line, there's a rent line is projected at the full rental amount of $56,000.
Okay, so they wouldn't be slimmer than the numbers you've given us.
They couldn't be any slimmer than
They can't be
those.
any-
Well, that's what you said. I just listened to what you
A
said.
lot better if we have some type of, reduction in that rental projection of $56,000.
Because, yeah, looking at the numbers, I don't know of any private industry that would open a business and invest, have over $1.2 million in sales and a return of 2 3/4%.
Well-
I see this as a service business.
And that's what it is. I mean, it gives your
Um,
citizens somewhere, instead of driving to another county or whatever, it gives them,
Potential sales tax revenue.
mm.
And eventually, if we start making money, that revenue sharing, then y'all have, I think, specific uses that you can use any excess profit that goes back to.
Well,
Which if you look at profit, that's only a quarter, right at 1/4%.
But here's my thing, and something I think we need to talk about. If you take the $56,000 out of your stuff, put it down there to your net income and increase that, now you're, 60,000. The profit share, once it goes back to the county, cannot be spent. It just doesn't go into general funds. It has to be divvied up. But if we left it where it's at now, to where you borrowed that money, and paid it back that way, then it could be, spent, the profit that come in would be treated as if it is, instead of the county fronting the money, basically. Then when it does come in, there's strings attached to it. Does that, well, Chuck's talking now.
Forgive me, sir.
No, you're fine. Is that an accurate statement? I mean, what I just said, did you?
Mr. Kratz, I apologize. I was asking some advice from the county manager.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I was saying is, if they borrowed the $56,000, then it keeps their profit down to, just under 4. But if we basically subleased it back to them, then you would add that $56,000 for their profit, so then when it did come to the county, the strings would be tied to how that money would be spent. It doesn't just go into general funds.
I think the Board of Commissioners determine how the distribution's gonna be made out of the profits.
Also, I think part of their intent is that the money that they would save in rent is gonna be what they use to pay their loans down quicker.
Right, that
So
ain't
it
coming
wouldn't be
back to the
necessarily
board.
profit, they're gonna put it back
Yeah, I
towards the
don't
loan.
think it'd be
This is just an incentive for
Okay.
them, if the
To
lease
help
is
them pay the
5,000,
line of credit
we do
and
2,500
loan
or
back.
whatever.
That
Okay,
way-
I
that
just
way
didn't wanna-
By the end of year 5, they're pretty much at an even pace and can take off running.
Okay, and now that makes more sense. I just wanted, in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, when it comes back to the county, there's gonna be strings attached.
There you go.
Okay.
One of the things we talked about with the board was if there was a subsidy on that the additional $1.2 million in sales tax on the $1.2 million in sales at 2% is about $24,000. That 2% that we're not getting now, just the regular sales tax. So that could probably be the offset to the subsidy.
The sales tax pay the subsidy.
To follow up on what Commissioner Crosby said, because I think it's an excellent question. Is it not true that any monies that's received from the ABC Commission has designation, those dollars are designated for specific use? Is that, I think that's where
Right,
you were
and I
going.
think that's what you guys can determine.
Okay,
The
okay.
distribution is determined by you, 'cause I know
I just wanted to make sure
in
that
Thomasville,
was.
it does go to the general fund, I believe, and in Lexington, it goes to the schools. But that was a determination by those,
That's not legislative mandated, that's what I guess that's what I'm saying.
I've been told that it was, 'cause I thought so much of it had to be spent on education of abuses and.
There is certain percentages, yes, for alcohol, education.
And law enforcement.
And law enforcement, but the actual free and clear profit can be determined by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay.
If I'm understanding correctly.
That's part of what the state's taking it for.
Right.
Okay.
We can determine where in law enforcement it goes to, can't we? Whether they want ABC officers or if we want the sheriff's department to be,
I'd have to check into that, but you may be right.
Cause I believe, at one time, Lexington, when they first started, they had ABC officers.
Right.
Now I believe they got the police department, I believe. But anyway.
I got a question. 4,200 square feet, is that what I see here? Okay, have y'all looked, and again, I'm gonna echo what Commissioner McClure said. I went over these numbers last night and today, and this is a really good job, and I think the numbers look pretty point on. I mean, I don't see, it looks like you got your money covered, not too much, but maybe, on target, so I like these numbers. I like looking at real numbers, but what would a vacant piece of land cost up in that area?
If you picked out an acre, and obviously you wanna build for the future, I would say in that general area within quarter mile, half a mile of that intersection, I would expect anywhere $1, $1.50 a foot.
So is that, I seen there's a house up there for sale the last time I was up through there on the right, maybe one or two houses, and the reason I'm saying that, I mean, you guys done your due diligence for sure, but I hate leasing a piece of property from somebody for $500,000 for 5 years when you can build you a building for $750 or $800. And then you'd have to.
If we had the money and we've been in business for 20 years and we were throwing off a lot of cash and didn't have debt, that certainly would be an option, but I think we gotta walk before we can run.
And that's also an option for us. If we're gonna lease the building, pay half your rent, we could build a building and lease it back to you. Then it's ours, and then if you're not successful, we can sell the building and, get our money back,
Probably looking maybe 2 years from the start of locating property and rezoned, because those houses are still residential. The other thing, and if the Rite Aid building was the right size and the right price, you've seen what they're looking at doing at the intersection up there. I think we need to let that sort of find its way out before we would jump in and recommend buying property. We haven't had that specific discussion, but that's been the general discussion, that we just feel like that, but, if you guys wanna build a building, we'll be happy to lease it.
As far as I'm concerned, that's what I would do. because I don't wanna give y'all $500,000, and if you're not successful, then I'm still on the hook for the lease.
We don't want you to give us that
Mhm.
if we're not gonna be successful.
Right, but nobody knows. We hope you're gonna be. I mean, everybody goes in with the intentions of being successful. But if you're not, then we still gotta write a check out every month for the lease. So that's the downside of that. Where me, I just soon buy property, build the building. Then if you're not successful, we can rent it out to somebody else, or we can sell it, or there's always a different option, but.
Well, there also is a philosophy, I'm not sure which way I come down on it totally, but I'm not sure the public sector ought to compete with the private sector and take it out of the tax base, owned by the government. But that's a philosophical.
Yeah,
At this point in time, I'd just like to reiterate the gratitude, at least my gratitude for y'all, and the amount of work that you have put into this. And you said what your next steps were, and I guess that's where you go from here. And I would appreciate you keeping us up, like if you go to the state and the state has an issue, that we at least know what those are.
Absolutely. And during this process, we've talked to y'all individually. If y'all think of something or hear something, we're available. And
Okay.
more heads are better than one.
Again, thank you.
What we would ask you to do is have some discussion, if there would be interest in the county entering into the lease and subleasing it to us, and see if there's any motivation.
I mean, I'm interested in that, so.
Okay.
I don't know what the consensus of the board is,
That
but.
would be for a future meeting that you guys would discuss.
That is correct.
No, we'd vote on Tuesday night.
I think that we need some time to look at it anyway. I would say the last Tuesday.
The sooner
I mean,
the better for us.
Yeah, you've got your pro forma here, so either we agree with it or we don't.
I'm looking at the lease. I don't have any problem with this because that's their job. The only thing they're asking us is about the lease. That's what I'm concerned about, is do we need to get that lease? Have we done this before? What kind of doors does it open up for other people? There's a lot of things to consider whenever you consider doing that.
Well, we hadn't done it before that I know of. Have we done it before? Have we done any of this subleasing before? Or maybe we have.
I guess if you consider the airport, because, we.
Guess what?
I guess if you consider the airport, I mean, we did buy the hangar out, like where the Baptist helicopter is, and we bought that and leased it to the Baptist.
Right.
I mean, so I guess if there's any example I could think of, that would be the only one right now, so. And of course, some of the hangars, remember, we bought them and the airport pays us back. But like I say, technically we own the airport, so.
Yeah. Speaking of airport, it's easier to get a yes vote if you bring airport bottles.
But one way of looking at this, the ABC taxes would offset any loss if it were to fail. The ABC tax, I know we spent a lot of it this year. Everything was like.
Over this year too.
Yeah, and everybody was like, let's use the ABC money, so we went through that pretty quick,
Curiosity, was that used, Casey, for recurring expenses year after year, or?
For the most part right now. Last year we bought some one-off stuff, but we've got some budgeted now that's locked in. Right.
yeah. So that's one way to look at it. You're actually using the ABC tax money to fund.
And Mr. Yates, we have done a lot of research on the buying versus leasing. The only thing we did find, anything that was for sale that was in close proximity was down toward the Lexington area of the 150, and we felt like in that intersection, we had traffic coming from 4 different directions, where the further down 150 we went, the less likelihood we would have of all that traffic. So with that.
I noticed a house right there at 150, basically across from.
The Anderson.
Up from Foltz Concrete, a little bit toward the intersections there on the right. Looks like a pretty good location to me, but right, they're gonna have a media meeting in the middle and. So you're probably pretty smart with that idea. I mean, I take that as an answer, that wait and see what the road does. Plus, they're gonna have a lot of construction there for several years, so you don't wanna be, that shopping center's gonna survive because people's gotta go get their groceries, so.
I appreciate you saying that. we thought about all those possibilities.
It'd take 2.5 years to do that construction up there, and you don't wanna be in the middle of all that mess, so. So,
Thank you so much.
but like I say, I'm good,
You guys would,
y'all wanna put it on the agenda for
put it on the
Yeah,
agenda
put it
to now, because when we submit these numbers,
Put it-
we'd like to submit as many numbers as possible, if there is any interest in a sublease.
You know, I mean, like I say, I'm interested in putting it on the agenda for Tuesday night, and,
Meeting's the 13th, so it'll be two Tuesdays.
well,
This is
two
a five
Tuesdays or whatever,
Thursday
you know.
month, or Tuesday month, so.
Isn't that when we've got that zoning thing too?
And I guess in the meantime, y'all need to get a
Move it to the
draft, a draft copy of the lease to the attorney.
The initial presentation that Mr. Wright has, there's some massaging of that, that's gotta be done, we haven't had, Chuck just, so he hasn't.
Is there any way we could word it to where maybe y'all signed off on the lease, then we purchased it from you and then leased it back to you?
In the lease to the board commissioners.
That way, if for some reason the ABC store shouldn't work, the county's not on the hook for it, it would be y'all originally signing for it.
I think
Those
we'll
are
still
something
be
you can discuss
held.
with them.
That's legal, I don't think
But
that's
that's what,
that's
but
necessary
that,
at
I'm
this
just throwing that out there, and that way Chuck can see the gears turning. Yeah.
I think from my understanding, the county had to lease, that's the only way we could do it, the county had to lease the property.
That was the, when Lori Lee was here, that was the question I asked her, could the county lease the building? So, I don't, getting into legal, I would, I'd have to do, Chuck and I would both have to do some more.
Okay. Y'all dig into that, and if I was y'all, I'd ask my leaseor if we were to default. I mean, I know they want you to sign into a 5-year, but also you're a good drawing card for them. And say, look, if we'll do a 3-year, okay? Go-
We did talk about a 3-year, and economically it's more advantageous for us to go to a 5-year. And that's where we ended up presently in the discussions as a 5-year. There's free rent associated with that without getting into the details
Right.
of everything. There is, we did consider a 3-year lease, but it was at a higher rate and less
Okay.
free ride.
So we're just gonna move this to the 13th for discussion on it?
Is
Okay.
the, agenda such
All right with
that the next Tuesday or the following Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday?
The next couple of meetings are gonna be busy.
Let's do it on the next one then.
What?
What is the date of, 13th?
13th.
Okay. Okay.
They're both already booked,
We've got
the
stuff, we've got
13th
stuff
and
for
the
the
last.
13th, the 27th, and the first meeting in December.
I'm sorry, say that again,
I
Kenny.
said, any questions y'all have during the thought process before you do your meet, whatever meeting you're gonna have it at, we're available.
As far as I'm concerned, as long as y'all get y'all's lease to Chuck, and he's, as far as I'm concerned, now these other guys may have something else, but when the meeting comes up that Tuesday, he's gonna present us with what the lease would look like.
The sublease or the lease?
Well, both.
Both.
Yeah, I think the sublease may be a part of that.
Sublease and the lease to make sure, because we're actually the lease, the leaser, leasee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
both of those pieces of paperwork would need to be,
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning.
Truly appreciate
Thank you.
it. Appreciate
thank
y'all's
you.
support.
thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll keep moving
Well,
forward.
you've done a lot of work too, y'all three, so thank you
Look
too.
back on it, there's been more than
You created this.
names right now. Okay.
Okay.
So, let me ask you this, are we gonna have a ABC store in the county?
Our plan is
Definitely?
to have an
Okay.
ABC store in the county.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Discussion on the organizational meeting swearing in of Sheriff Zeb.
Yes, sir. It seems that, on the morning, the first Monday in December is when everybody gets sworn in. And, our normal procedure has always been, you guys, the new commissioners or re-elected commissioners are sworn in, and then we have employee service awards. Well, during that time is, the same time, the Sheriff-elect Simmons, if he's running unopposed, so he will be sworn in at 9 o'clock that morning. at, Mount Zion Wesleyan Church is my understanding. I've had some interest from, the board, about trying to arrange that thing where you guys could attend that. You know, and so it's above the manager's pay grade, so I'm putting it on the floor for the board to decide how they wanna handle December 3rd, if they wanna just go through our normal procedure and just send our regrets to the sheriff that, you know, we've got things going here, or we rearrange our schedule to go to his,
Well, you know, if we give out service awards, we won't be through by 9:00.
Right.
No.
Mr. Chairman, the issue confronting the manager is set out by the rules of procedure of the board, because under the rules regarding organization of the board, it provides that the board shall hold an organizational meeting at its regular time and place on the first Monday in December of each even-numbered year. And then it sets out what the agenda is to be for that organizational meeting. It's limited to the induction of newly elected members of the Board of Commissioners and other elected county officials, and organization of the board for the ensuing year. So it requires the meeting to be at this place at 8:00 on that Monday morning. Now, the board can deviate from that if it wants to, but I just wanted you to know that there is that rule that provides that that's the practice and expectation and requirement of the board.
What I was thinking is if we could have our normal 8:00 meeting, and then if we went ahead and told everyone for the award stuff that we would do that at, let's say, 10:00. That way we could go to the 9:00 swearing in and then return, and that way employees are not sitting here at 8. Because I'm a firm believer in the employees. They're the ones that do all the work. But then again, to show the respect for the sheriff.
I don't know that we've ever suspended a meeting to go to a swearing in for anybody. I think that we conduct the business the way we've been conducting it, and anybody that wants to go to the swearing in can go to the swearing in and just step aside so far as the presentation of the awards.
That's good.
The problem I see in moving the time, our employees get here at 8:00 in the morning, and it would be I think it could be a problem, you know, with them having to come back. Some of them don't all come to this building at 8:00. And then some of them come here and leave from here to go to other areas of work, just like across the street, support services, different.
Yeah.
You know, and they would be about their day, whereas you would end up with a 3 or 4 hour, basically they're not gonna be able to do anything because they gotta come back here, so they're just gonna stay here.
Well, you know,
I mean, it's downtime. It's just like, you know, if you have employees come in and then they go out, I don't know that would be wise.
I think Mr. McClure made a good suggestion there. You know, we can have our organizational meeting at 8:00. And then whomever wants to leave then and go to something else can go, and the rest of us line up down here and shake hands.
Yeah, but then whoever's not here, to me, it feels like a slap in the face to the employees that do all the work.
Then don't go to the other.
Stay with us.
Okay.
Surely the ABC board don't wanna sit here and listen to all this, do you? Y'all welcome to leave if you want.
Best show in town sometime.
Well, I'm offended because I don't see any popcorn.
I'm still waiting on those airport bottles, so.
You know, I'd love to see I'd love to attend the sheriff's thing too, but,
Yeah, I would too. I had planned to, but.
yeah, but I think, I'm gonna have to agree with Commissioner McClure that, as long as we got a quorum here, anybody, so here's my recommendation, and you guys change it or discuss it, but if you decide that you wanna go to the sheriff's thing, break off after we do our swearing in here, then let Debbie know so that we'll make sure we've got a quorum here for it to hold the meeting.
I think we'd have to have a quorum after that.
Chuck?
Sir. As long as you're not making decisions, you don't have to.
We purposely are not picking on you, waiting for you to get talking, I promise you. during that meeting, we make the presentations and do we have to have a quorum here? We do have to have a quorum, have a public meeting, don't we?
There's no requirement that the recognition of the employees take place at that organizational meeting. There are very few things that are actually set out for the organizational meeting. What has happened in the past, Madam Clerk, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have the organizational meeting, that comes to a conclusion, and then we open the recognition. Is that correct?
We don't conclude the meeting, everything's part of that agenda.
So it's just tacked on.
We
But
do the recognition and then we take a break to do the celebration,
But there are
and then we
only
come
the
back and adjourn.
elements that speak with regard to the swearing in of county officials and the selection of officers that's set out as part of the organizational meeting.
And then we normally, once we do that and select the chair and the vice chair, we speak about the boards and commissions, and then we move to the employee recognition.
Sometimes we move the boards and commissions after the recognition so that we can
You're
we can do
right.
the employees and then we
And
come
get them
back
out of the
and
way.
conduct the business.
So if you open with a quorum, you gotta close with a quorum, correct?
No, once a quorum is established, if people elect to leave, they are still gonna be treated as being present. And any
Okay.
votes that are taken during that time, they would be recorded as having voted in the affirmative on whatever motion is presented.
Unless you voted to excuse them, right?
Yes.
So don't excuse anybody and you're good.
There you go.
Okay.
Solve that problem.
Okay, so anybody who wants to attend the sheriff's thing, just so we have some understanding of who's going, let Debbie know ahead of time, and you don't really have to do it if we don't have a quorum, if we can, get up and excuse ourselves.
We will need
And
the
leave and
quorum
go
to
to
open
the
the
sheriff's
meeting.
thing.
We would need to have the quorum to open the meeting.
Well, yeah, we've got to have everybody here to open the meeting.
Number next.
Okay. All right, we got a resolution authorizing condemnation to acquire right-of-way easements for the I-85 US Highway 64 sewer project. Chuck?
Mr. Chairman, Mike Newby in our office had prepared this. You may recall Mike was here earlier this morning. He apologized, but had to be in court at 9 o'clock this morning, so I'm gonna try to fill in for him. There is a resolution before you entitled Resolution Authorizing Condemnation to Acquire Rights-of-Way Easements for the I-85 US Highway 64 Sewer Project. Back in September 12th of this year, Mr. Newby sent a letter to Tommy Ballas and Angelo Ballas with a notice of action condemnation. And in that letter, it stated that a representative of Davidson County previously attempted to contact you without success for the purpose of obtaining a temporary and permanent sewer line easement across a portion of the property described. And the letter served as official and notice of action under Chapter 48-40 of the North Carolina General Statutes that Davidson County intends to institute condemnation proceedings. At that time, there was an offer made and estimated the sum of $1,208.80 to be just compensation for the acquisition of the property. Not only was there no response from the landowners prior to that notice having been sent, there has been no communication since that time. We're at the point now where the sewer line development construction needs to go forward. This is a very small piece of property. Memory serves me, I think we're talking about 159.3 linear feet. 159.3 linear feet. The sum was established for the offer at $6 a linear foot plus an addition of $250 for one manhole that would be established there. So this is time sensitive, and that's why we'd asked the board to add this on today. Would respectfully ask for the approval of that resolution so we can go ahead and file our action and allow the construction to proceed.
Okay, we have any questions for the board? If not, can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner McClure. Second by Commissioner Troy. Cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, can I have a motion second go into closed session?
After about a 2-minute break.
Give us a 5-minute break and then we'll go into closed session. Commissioner McClure made the motion, Commissioner Yates or Jarvis, we got 2 or 3 here ready to go. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Reason being, I got a 10 o'clock after this, so. Hurry.
Motion
Second.
okay. Chuck, if you'll give us an update.
They not,
We're in open session waiting on your report.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize for the delay. Mr. Hyde is in the house and we had to speak to him. With regard to closed session, Mr. Chairman, there were two matters that were considered in closed session, both with regard to economic development. Those were, the second was for informational purposes only. The first, the board may wish to consider amending its agenda to allow a presentation to be made by Mr. Goodson with regard to a proposal for a public hearing.
Okay.
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
Okay, got a second? You need that,
We can do
clicker?
that verbally.
All in favor? Okay. Do we have a date for the public hearing? We move to?
He's got a,
Mr. Goodson, did you want to speak to that?
Excuse me.
Project OBX is an existing industry in Davidson County. This company is considering, an equipment investment in their facility of up to $25 million. This project is in competition with other, facilities that the corporate entity owns, in the United States. This project, will retain local employees, and the hope is that the continued success with this added equipment will add employees. I would like to request a public hearing, to consider and vote in favor of an economic development incentive grant for the company, at the standard rate of .0027, to be paid over a period of 5 years based on the investment of up to $25 million.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a date?
We can set that for November 13th, sir.
November the 13th, all right, do I have a motion to set that, for December the 13th?
We can do this
We
verbally.
got a second. To do clicker,
Verbally, sir.
verbally?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, anything further, Mr. Fry?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
and second? All in favor? Aye.